My name is Dennis Brumley, and whether you've been in the business with BridgeForce a couple weeks, a couple months, or 2 years or longer, there's something in today's webinar to help you with your business, and we want you to be in business for yourself, but not by yourself. Now, I did a previous newer broker webinar on June the 7th, and I want to thank those who attended, and we had good feedback from the first one. And so we decided to do a webinar too. And so what I'm going to do is kind of highlight some things that we did from the first webinar, and then I'll get in this presentation. Special thanks to Cassie Page for helping put this webinar together. She's our webinar coordinator. So we put this workshop together as we realized that we have brokers coming to BridgeForce from different career paths. Some are newbies, and some are from different areas, different MGAs and things. So the objective is to help brokers know more about brokerage, BridgeForce, how we operate and how we work, and put everybody on the same page. Now, the webinar originally was in 6 parts, now 7 parts. It starts off with BridgeForce, compliance, business companies, and products and tools. And that's what I went over last time. And then this time, I'm going to go over broker development, broker assessment and planning, and then something new, which is called BridgeForce Company Hotspots, was something I've been working about on for a while. So you'll notice the agenda for the day, that's the full agenda, is in front of you there. So you'll notice you'll see the topic on the left, and you'll see another. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and that we went over last time. Review, and then part 2, which hotspots, and then I'll do some highlights. All right, so if everybody's ready, let's get started. Any questions yet? I don't see any hands, so okay, let's go. Okay, this is kind of I'll go through this at the beginning and then go through at the end. So we're going to go over advisor, disclosure, services, compliance, who's with who, agendas, application checklists, cover letters, reason why letters, print writing assessment. And that's basically what we went over last time. This time we're going to go over some process and procedures, being a student of the business, BridgeForce advocates and industry meetings, planning, urgency, mentor, and hotspots. So that's kind of the brief Coles Notes version of our agenda for today. Now, we in BridgeForce had some compliance meetings back in March. Hopefully most of you attended. We had workshops afterwards, but we found a lot didn't stay for the workshop, so we decided to have our own workshop afterwards. And the question I have is, what is in your compliance kit? So this is the privacy model, where there's disclosure, there's the privacy consent, AML regime, privacy regime. So that's kind of lays it out in nuts and bolts. So here's the things that you kind of need to have if you're in those areas: advisor, disclosure, approach, privacy, and AML. So what we did is we put this together in one big email. And if you'd like this super compliance email, as we call it, I can send that to you. There's my email, dennisb@bfggroup.ca, and it has all these attachments to it. I think there's like 20 different attachments to this email, and it has all the things you need to kind of be compliant. And we have them numbered 1 to 14 there. And then basically these are the things that you need to have to be compliant: advisor, disclosure, privacy consent, letter of engagement, needs analysis, reason why they're privacy, and AML. So that's kind of everything there in the nutshell. Now, I think one of the best things that we've used, at least our brokers have used, is this who bought who, or who's with who. And it has all the insurance. And I use this when I'm talking to prospective brokers, or when our brokers are talking to clients. So this basically has what's left of the life insurance industry in the bold italics, in the bold print, in the little highlighted there on the left, the little mark there. You'll see I've noted those companies. Those are all the companies that deals with BridgeForce. So you can see that asterisk indicates those companies that deal with BridgeForce. So we deal with most of what's left of the industry. And the ones in the lighter print are the ones acquired. Now you see that big bunch in the middle? That's Manulife. They've acquired 26 companies. Yes, that's right, 26 companies over the years. But all those companies, if they've acquired, the company that acquired them has to honor all the benefits that were in the original policies. All right. Now, it's important when you're in business to tell people what you do. I tell new brokers especially, you need to go out and tell people what you do. So we handle individual life insurance, critical illness, disability, long-term care. Not too many carriers there anymore. It's a small group. Okay, so it's important that you let them know that. Now, here's some of these disclosure documents. Now, these, we've revised the BridgeForce website. All of these should be in there now if you look for them. But this is in that super compliance disclosure template and consent template. All right. We're supposed to have a need from Manulife, which is a good one. You can usually put in there for you. And also, it's important what life insurance is about. Creates immediate death. Proceeds can be either for state creation or state conservation. The type that you rent term and the type that you. I find this is a good the difference between the two, because the two, and then the states for state. Some options there. One thing that's important is that we find that if you have an agenda and also the date, the name of the client about. So I think that's important. So your top points, and I like the last point there, is almost like a close. And people have asked me, says, what does that mean? I says, normal company. So that's actually a close. You're type of an action on there. Moving right along, say you do write an application. I think it's very important to explain the purpose of the insurance, the company, any medical regulation. You're presenting that the insurance company issue insurance. So I think it's important. Seeing the client, doing the pay, 10, 15 minutes writing a cover letter. So that's reason why letters, which you do this during the process, but time of delivery. So you're doing the policy delivery, you're doing the reason why letter, so it's like sealing the sale. So some sample reason why letters, recommendations, they take all your recommendations that you've suggested, or maybe they'd only do some partial recommendations, or maybe it's with an investment product, or maybe you're just saying they want mortgage insurance, so you have something there. So these are very important, and these are going to be, these are part of the compliance regime now, so you better take note of these and incorporate them into your practice. This is life insurance replacement disclosure. As most of you have known and seen, if you replace a policy, you have to fill these out. I'm not going to dwell on that. Companies here where we do business, and the reason I put up this slide for the moment is I want you to know the companies that I've selected to do the BridgeForce company hotspots. There's quite a few there. So today I'm gonna give the hotspots for BMO, Canada Life, CPP, Ardan, Life, Forsters, Avari, Manulife Financial, RBC, SSQ, and Sun Life. I think that's 13 of them. So I haven't covered them all. There's about 6 or 7 of them there that I won't be going over today. Those are more niche companies. So one thing you should realize that once you set up a contract with these insurance companies, you're also free, and those are basic products that they offer. Most of them do anyway. You also can set up, you also can sell their seg funds or other contracts. Now, next I'm going to go on to this pre-underwriting assessment forms. I think this is a biggie for our brokers because right now it's important that you know out there who, if you have a client that has any health issues at all, you need to check things out first. And this is the way that I do business now with clients. I say, before we even apply for insurance, let's see how you are. So even if you're ready to write up a clean case, I would suggest you put this in front of them. And we've ran this through some underwriters and some insurance companies, and they've kind of helped us put this together. You say, is there anything that we should talk about before we proceed? So basically, we don't ask for a name. You need to put the sex in there, whether it's male or female, date of birth or age nearest. Are you in good health? That's just the kind of a primer to get them talking. Any present health issues? Have you smoked anything? You notice it says anything in the past 12 months. I realize there's some leniency now on marijuana and some other things. What's your height and weight? Build is a big portion of things. We will go over build a little bit in the hot spots. Blood pressure. As long as blood pressure is under control, you're probably all right. You take any medications on a regular basis. Have you had any health issues in the past 3, 5, 10 years? Insurance companies seem to look in like their intervals, all right? Pending tests, biggie, real biggie. If you have pending tests, insurance companies are probably not going to make a decision until those pending tests are over, so you need to have some resolution there. We just added this recently because this was coming up, because a lot of times we have things postponed. So do you have any? The reason, the timeline. I have a client right now, pending tests on July 27th, so they're not going to do anything until after that and the results are in. Any drinking, driving, or drug issues? Have you done any foreign travel? This is not as much of an issue as it used to be unless you're going for an extended period of time. Do you have any avocations? That comes up once in a while. Family medical history. This is particularly important if you're dealing with critical illness. Is there any history of family history of some of these things? There again, this is primarily for critical illness. And is there anything else in your personal, financial, family, or medical history that we need to discuss on? One might be bankruptcy or something like that. The companies will normally not cover you till you're discharged. So we find this very helpful in the underwriting process. Now, who do you send this to? Okay, well, we have a few companies that will do these, and they'll do them, send them directly to you. One is Canada Life. One is Canada CPP, Canada Protection Plan. Industrial Alliance, Equitable, and Foresters. Those are the main ones that are doing them right now. Avari does it from time to time, and if you send it away, they'll usually get back to you within 2 or 3 business days. And you'll find that most of the time, the assessments are fairly consistent with one another. And if you do these assessments, please send them in with the application so the insurance company knows that you've done a little legwork ahead of time. And we find that our brokers that are doing these are not having as many issues placing rated cases. Usually if it's a rated case, the clients know what's going to happen before we even apply if we do a pre-underwriting assessment. So that's, if you learn one thing today, learn about the pre-underwriting assessments. That separates you from the other brokers out there who are not doing those. We have a lot of brokers that are just sending them in and hope if they don't ask the medical issues. And then the application process, just as an app comes in, the process that we go through. Here on this section, and this is basically things that, first of all, make sure you're using a current app. Need to witness the applications unless you want somebody else to get the comp. Underwriting requirements, you need to let us know what you want. Sheet, client info. Make sure you get the birth dates right, the day, month, year. That sometimes is an issue if you're splitting. You need to put a life insurance replacement declaration form with the app if you're replacing a policy. Specify annual or monthly, third-party questionnaire, product pages for some of the companies like Canada and Manulife, corporate ownership, the BIN number, beneficiaries, proper name in there, and the relationship. and make sure you put in the proper account. So those are things that we've just found missing on applications. It's a good idea. I mentioned before that we do have an application checklist, which I went over in the last time presentation, and that's a good idea to include that with your applications as a checklist, or have somebody go over your apps before you send them in to make sure that looks okay. All right, so that over last time, so we'll kind of get started here on this time, and hopefully we'll have fun with this section. Now, BridgeForce has lots of meetings from beginning of the year to the end of the year. We start off with our roadshow in RSP Roadshow in January, and we usually have locations throughout Toronto and southwestern Ontario. It just depends on where you're located. Then we have our ever popular compliance meeting in March usually. Our PD days in April, well, that's 2 days where I say we get together and bring you up to date on what's happening in the life insurance business. I've always enjoyed those. And then our last one is going to be our fall general meeting, which we get together and talk about living benefits and kind of what's been going on for the year. So here's the schedule. We just finished our education summit up in Collingwood a couple weeks ago, which went very well. So our next meetings are in October, and you can see there Woodbridge, Windsor, London, and Niagara. So we're looking forward to those and what's going to happen there. So when you're a broker, you want, and one is broker assessment. Consider yourself first a salesperson or a business person. You can get away just being a salesperson, to be a salesperson and a business person. Strengths and your weaknesses. We all kind of know what they are, and strengths minimize your weaknesses. And each week prospecting, and that will be in direct relationship to how many appointments you have. I find the best salespeople are also the best prospectors. And then what prospecting sources or system are you using now? And how effective are they for you? How do you get yourself referrals? Do you have a process and procedure that you use on a consistent basis? And I think you need to use several of those, 3 or 4 or 5 of them. And how would you assess your client's problems and needs? You do needs analysis most of the time. I'm hoping that you do. Are most of your cases for estate creation, or are they for estate conservation? Most, I would say, cases that we have are for estate creation. And do you specialize in any particular area? I think that one of the secrets to success is to become known for what you do, especially if you have a niche or a specialty type of thing. That's because a lot of brokers eventually have an area that they focus in and concentrate in. And if so, what areas of expertise have you chosen to work on, and are you working developing your skills in those areas? And what does an ideal client look like to you? If you had the ideal client, what would that be? Now, I find this next one interesting because we've done a broker assessment. Assess yourself from a scale from 1 to 10. 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. So if you take a look at planning, or how good are you at planning? How good are you at getting appointments? How many interviews do you have each week? Do you have a fair number of interviews? If you're only having 2 or 3, 4 interviews a week, your results will show that. The people that have the most interviews are the people that get the most sales, because it works that way. How much time do you spend on interview preparation? What would you say if a client asked you, how much time did you spend preparing to see me today? What would your answer be? Hopefully it'd be more than 5 minutes. Even if you prepare an agenda for them, that's 5 or 10 minutes right there. How are you conducting interviews? Do you practice your lines? I have one broker who comes in, every time he comes in, he practices lines on me. So he's practicing. So how much time are you spending preparing to perform? Closing. If you're doing a good job during the interview, closing sometimes becomes easy. If you're not preparing the client through the interview, sometimes closing is difficult. So how many closes do you know? And answers to objections. A lot of times people say, if you're doing a good job along the way, you don't give very many answers to objections. one of my favorite closes is how much, what kind, when, and from who. So how much you need, amount you can reasonably afford. Who, when are you going to get it? Well, the time is there now. Who are you going to get it from? Well, hopefully you get it from me. And what kind do you want to rent it or own it? Okay, so sometimes you just narrow things down in those areas. How you do at completing apps? Some people are pretty good at it. Some people aren't so good at it. But main thing with app completion, I mean, is going over your apps, checking before you go. How is your follow-up with clients? When you see a client, how do you follow up with them? By phone, email, text type of thing? How do you stay in contact with those? And also, how do you manage client expectations? I find this is a big area for brokers today. If you're doing that pre-underwriting assessment form, you're managing their expectations because they're expecting to get the insurance. We don't know until we send something in. And then how's your compliance? Hopefully after the compliance meetings, it's better. Hopefully it's been better since then because you've brought things up to date. How are you placing rated cases? I find some brokers are very good at this. Some brokers want to run and hide when they get a rated case and they want to blame it on the insurance company. Well, it's the client. You have to qualify for life insurance. Okay, you have to qualify. Okay, you not just apply, you have to qualify. How you monitor your shrinkage, the ratio of written to settled. If most of the business that you write is settling, that's a good. If you have a big ratio between what you're written and what you're settling, that means maybe you should be doing more pre-underwriting and things like that, or maybe take a look at your prospects. How are you getting referrals? Do you have a process and procedure for that? How are you for education and training? Like today's education and training. Thank you for being part of this. Attending meetings, BridgeForce meetings. We have what we call Grand River Tuesdays, where we have regular meetings with our brokers. And how are you at industry meetings? Minding your client base. I don't think a lot of brokers do enough of this. I mean, you got lots of client files. How often do you go in there and look for prospects within those files, family members, things like that? If these people are already clients, wouldn't they refer some of those people to you? And also don't forget to renew your licenses and make sure your E&O is up to date. Using company software, we would suggest that you have the current company software for the companies that you use. Okay, you don't need all 20, you maybe need half a dozen. And also, please, please, please use current applications. Sometimes we have brokers send in apps that aren't even the same color as the current ones, type of thing. So I think the time has passed where you put an app in your briefcase and pull it out for the right time. And the surprise today would be on you because we changed those last week or something. How are you at yearly planning? How are you at weekly, monthly, semi-annual, yearly planning? What are your strengths? How would you assess your strengths? How would you assess your weaknesses? What areas do you want to improve on? And what training would be most beneficial to you? Not everybody's the same, and at different levels of their career, training needs are different. And what's the biggest improvement you want to make in 2018? All right, so hopefully everybody's scored on that 7 and up, hopefully. And then take a look at what have I accomplished this year so far? The year's half over. So what have you done so far? How well have you done? If you haven't done so well, one thing I find in our business, you can make up for that in a very short period of time. And what should you have done differently, if anything? Okay. What do you want to improve on? How would you assess your overall prospecting, interview, closing, follow-up skills? This is a follow-up to that last section that we did. What areas do you want to improve? What training development do you need to get to where you want to be? Would you be interested in workshops to improve your skills? What about being involved with a study group to help build and grow? I find brokers like to be around brokers, especially with similar attitudes and similar markets. Are you a student of the business? I think that's very important, that no matter what your age, you need to be a student of the business. I know we look for that when we're recruiting brokers that want to be students of the business. And how would you assess your overall knowledge and skills of our business? Like I mentioned in the last webinar, when I first came into business, one of the things that my manager said to me, Dennis, you need to get your CLU designation. And so that was one of my goals, and I got that within, my goal was to get it in the first 5 years. I got it within the first 5 years of business, but that was very important to me. Today, a lot of people, CFP seems to be a very meaningful designation, and I know it's very difficult to get. I do have a CFP as well, but that's a very difficult, but well recognized in the industry. So broker planning, making it happen for you. So develop your own business plan. A lot of times I ask a broker, let me see your business plan, and I don't see him for a while. So that's important that you have a business plan, not somebody else's, your own business plan. And what do you want to accomplish? What are your priorities in this business? Prospecting, what sources are working effectively for you? What we're finding is sometimes the old prospecting methods don't work anymore. And so you have to go to the new prospecting methods and determine through social media and things what is going to work for you. And you need to use a few of them. So referrals and being referable, use of social media. That's become very important, especially for our millennial brokers. An interview preparation. How much time do you spend preparing for an interview? Spectacular performance is preceded by unspectacular preparation. How's your advisory and disclosure documents? I notice a lot of our brokers have gotten a lot better at this since we had that workshop. Interview agendas. Do you have an agenda? I think that's important because when you go see how many times you've been to see somebody and they pulled out an agenda to show you what they were going to talk about? Not very many. So if you want to separate yourself from other brokers, start using agendas because it has the client's name and the date and what you're going to talk about. And so that kind of puts them at ease. And then you can always talk about other things, but at least you have an agenda and kind of keep on track. And closes, you want to use things that work for you. So have a few of them, just don't have one. Plans, okay, different plans that we're going to talk about this a little more detail when we go to the hot spots here shortly. So there's life, critical illness, disability, long-term care. What areas do you want to specialize in? Pre-underwriting assessments, do you use them? I think, like I said, I preach these especially to the new brokers. And I think it's very important because if we have a case that's gone south on us, a lot of times I'll check and find out, did the broker send a covering letter? Did they do a pre-underwriting assessment? The answer is usually no. And then I call the broker and I says, you didn't give yourself a fighting chance on this one. You need to do some pre-underwriting, and you need to manage those clients' expectations, which is the next thing there. That's very important. You need to manage your own expectations, need to manage your broker clients' expectations. And how do you follow up with clients? With phone calls, email, texting, etc. And how many new clients do you want to develop? And where do you want to get those people from? And then do you have a presentation or a sales kit, a third-party thing that you can use as a reference? Where are you getting your training and education? Today it's through BridgeForce universities, but we have lots of other things. And I'll put a plug in for Alan Wong's webinar at the end of the month on July 31st. I'll mention this at the end as well. He's going to talk about Life Guide. So any of you that use Life Guide, make sure you catch Alan's webinar. Alan's very sharp. He knows what he's doing, and you're going to learn a lot from that webinar. All right? So developing process and procedures in your practice that work for you. Okay, well, one other thing here, we developed this broker checklist just to so brokers kind of know things that they need to do. Okay, so make sure your license and E&O are current and registered with FSCO, and that you've contacted FSCO, the companies you do business with. Okay, if you haven't done that, you need to do that. Have you updated your apps and software? We don't want you using the wrong software, so we try and keep you updated. If you go to the BridgeForce site, it will always have the most current and up-to-date software. Are your compliance procedures up to date? You should make a point of attending the compliance meetings every year. I notice we usually do have good attendance for those. And we'll be glad to send you that super compliance email if you're still working on that, your compliance stuff. Do you plan to attend Grand River Tuesdays? Those are our meetings and BridgeForce meetings this year. Like I said, we do have one BridgeForce meetings in October. Encourage you to come to those. And if you've ever been to Niagara, you would enjoy that venue. If you haven't been to that venue, just putting a plug in for that one. Pre-underwriting assessments. We've updated the form, and I've listed the companies there: Canada, CPP, Equitalife, Foresters Industrial Alliance, and like I said, Avari does change it from time to time. Currently, they're not doing them, but maybe in the near future. One thing, get to know the company marketing reps. That's important because they're kind of the face of the company. And one thing I did do is when I was putting together the company hotspots, I reached out to the company marketing reps and say, okay, what's your hotspots for your company? And it's interesting, some of the responses that we got. We'd like to have a proper illustration with each application and medical requirements, so we kind of know, what you're applying for, and make sure we order the proper meds. You should use some type of an application checklist, like I mentioned before, to make sure you're going through everything. And one thing about another thing, if you go away for a while, you need to have somebody look after your business, another broker, not the MGA. That's not the default. So I just put that in there because some brokers, you'll go away on holidays, and next thing you know, I'm looking after their stuff, and they're supposed to have somebody looking after it. Our BridgeForce meetings are now by invitation only. We do have, except for the PD days, which are open to everybody, but most of those ones it's by invitation. So that means if you're an active producing broker, you probably will be getting an invitation. And we are available to help you on cases, put cases together. We've also put together an AOR kit, agent of record kit, for the companies, because every company, say you run across a case that was sold by a broker, not a career agent, with a company, and you want to become the agent on it, especially if you want to do a curved version or something, you can get an agent of record on that. You won't get comped unless the existing broker signs off, but the rules are different, but we have something like that, so we look forward to working with you this year. All right, so we're about halfway through, so I'm going to leave the last half for the company hotspots. And first thing here is BridgeForce company hotspots. Like I said, I reached out to our marketing reps from the various companies, and I got a good response from most all of them. And then I met with my associate, Mark Denny, and we brainstormed to come up with what we thought were some hotspots. And then the hotspots I'm giving you are a combination between what Mark and I came up with and what the marketing reps came up with. Now, one thing I will mention to start off with, there is nothing negative about any company. So any of those companies that I'm going to give you the hotspots, everything is positive. Okay, so there's no negativity with any of the companies. And the first thing I'm going to give you here to start off with is what to look for in a carrier for life and living benefits. We deal with roughly 20 companies. It's impossible for you to deal with 20 companies. You can probably deal with a handful, 5 or 6 of them on a regular basis. More than that's going to be difficult. So you want to pick a company that has a good reputation, stable, and most all of them are in that area, so that shouldn't be an issue. A company with a good table of products and competitive rates, most are good in that area. Look for flexible products that the clients can grow with. Okay, you need to take a look at the company in more detail. If you're going to do business with a company, you need to get to know that company, the marketing reps, and the products. I hope the first time you haven't looked at a company is the first time you're filling out an app because they got the cheapest term stuff. So be careful with that. Term switches, if you're selling a term plan, what can I switch that to? And usually most all companies have those switches within the first 5 years. There's one company that's longer, which I'll tell you about in a minute. Term products that can be converted to permanent plan. This is very important. What do you have to convert to if you sell a permanent life insurance policy? That is very important. CI term that can switch to longer term. That's important too. A carrier that is easy to do business with. We have a few of them out there. Some of them are easier than others. And you want to deal with a carrier that you feel good supporting. You feel proud to be with that company and supporting them, because when you fill out an application, you are representing them. You support a carrier because they support you in helping you do the best job for your clients, and a carrier that makes you feel like a professional and giving good service to your clients. So those are things that you need to look for in a carrier. So let's take a look at the BridgeForce company hotspots, and we're going to start off with BMO. BMO, this isn't the bank part, this is the life insurance part, and they used to be the old AIG Life, okay, so they just brought them over, BMO bought that. So good company. They have a new whole life products that's not that old, and it has very competitive cash values later on in life, okay, so if you're looking for something like that, and it's a 10, 20, or life pay, okay, so they're a relatively new player to the whole life market. Their UL, Universal Life, has a good level cost of insurance at all ages and all face amounts. And that was consensus from Mark and I, and from the Paul Maury, the BMO rep that we deal with as well. They have the most robust fund portfolio for Universal Life. In fact, I think it's in the area of 300 to 400 funds that you can deal with, and that's probably where they really stand out. They have more fund opportunities than anybody else in that UL market. Okay, so I put a little asterisk beside that part if I were you. They use age ratings instead of percentage ratings, which means that the way that that's set up with, instead of a 50 or 100% rating, it might be they may add on 3 years to the client's age. Now you have to explain that to the client, because the client says, look, I'm not 58, I'm 55. So you have to explain that when you're settling the policy, but that does save a little bit by doing it that way rather than the percentage rating. They also focus on larger cases and face amounts. We just placed a huge case with them recently. Can you imagine writing a check for $250,000 for a premium? Well, they have cases in that area. That's the premium, not the face amount. They also have term 10, term 15, 20, 25. So they have a good portfolio of term products, and they are competitive. They do have a term 100 products. The term 100 products, there aren't that many out there, so take advantage of the companies that still have them. They are one of the have them, so maybe put an asterisk by that. They have a term 100 product. And their CI has T10, T20, T75, T100, and enhanced 15 pay term to 100. So they have a good portfolio there. So those are the BMO hotspots. And like I said, most robust fund portfolio for UL, and they still have a term 100 product. So those are two things that I would kind of highlight there. Canada Life, one of the oldest, if not the oldest, life insurance company in Canada now that's still around. They're a big par policy. They sell lots of permanent life insurance. They have a good whole life insurance options, whether it be a wealth accumulation or estate protection. Very big in that market, very large cases. They have a good UL 10-pay option, which you might want to consider if you're in that market. One thing that stands out with I put an asterisk by good whole life insurance options there. Their ASTER program, which is a rating reduction program for permanent cases, which means that if you have a permanent plan and say the rating was going to be 200% on it, depending on the ages and stuff like that, they would probably issue that at 150%, so a 50% reduction. So the reduction depends upon the percentage of the rating and how large the rating might be. So it's anywhere from basically 25 points to on up 50, maybe 75 or 100 points. So it just depends. And if you have a term plan that's rated, they'll apply the asterisk to the conversion. Okay, so it's on the new. So if it's conversion, it applies to the conversion, the new policy. If it's just a regular new policy, then it'll apply to that. All right. Longest term switch, you mentioned a minute ago that one company was longer. This is the longest company. So you have on those T10, 20 switches, you have 7 years to do those. Okay, instead of 5 with the other. Now, they are one of the companies that does pre-underwriting assessments. So that's a highlight there. And they have done them for quite a while, and we appreciate them doing that service for us. So that's very helpful in position cases. They have a good DEI disability portfolio, flexible options. It's like a smorgasbord plan. You can choose some basic options and then add these riders. So the client you can tailor-made what particular plan you want to put together for them. And it's exciting. They do have a return of premium rider, which pays 50% every 7 years. You notice I have noticed no claims there. So providing there's no claims, every 7 years the clients can get 50% back. And some clients use that to pay future premiums, and some clients just take it. So that's a biggie. That's a big option. And they have flexible and conversion options on their CI. So that's good there. So they're a good permanent whole life company. They have that ASTER program, and they do some pre-underwriting assessments, and they have some flexibility on their DI as well. So that's Canada Life. Okay, next we go to CPP, not the pension plan, Canada Protection Plan. Now, it's important that you understand the difference between guaranteed issue and simplified issue. CPP is a simplified issue company. Okay, they do have some guaranteed products, but most of their products are simplified issue. Okay, which means that there's minimal underwriting, and then at claim time they'll do a little more checking into things. So they'll issue up to 500,000 non-medicals. So that's a biggie. We got people all the time that don't want to have medicals, so they'll go up to 500,000. There's no decline, postpone, or rated questions on the app. So if you have somebody that was declined yesterday by London Life, you can apply with CPP today. Used to, there was a restriction on that question. We had to kind of wait and see what happened, but there is not anymore. So if somebody's been declined someplace else, that's an option. Okay. There's no disability question on the application. They also do pre-underwriting assessments, and you have direct access to an underwriter Monday to Friday till 8 p.m. So you have access. You can actually talk to somebody about a case you might be working on. So I find with CPP, pre-underwriting is very, very important, because it's, I mean, the way I call their app the down and out, where you work your way through the app, and once you reach a certain point, if the answer is yes, you have to stop, but that means you can apply up that way. They have an electronic app for non-face-to-face. A lot of companies have electronic apps now, so that's not as big as it used to be, but they do have one that is helpful. CPP looks after the first month. The clients start paying in the second month. The simplicity of their app is basically only a couple pages of questions, and like I said, it's pretty easy to go through, so the client determines where they're at. Great field support. I can't say enough about our market rep, Melanie McCallum. She's great and will give you great service. And one of the advantages with CPP is you also are eligible for the Forster's member benefits. Okay, so that's important. So CPP simplified issue, big thing, up to 500,000. No decline, postpone, or rated questions, and those Forster's member benefits come into play, and the pre-underwriting assessments as well. So very, 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 but realize that CPP should not be your first choice. And if you're doing preferred underwriting, you should look at the career carriers first. We always suggest to our brokers, look at the career carriers first, see what kind of offer we can get before we go to CPP. One thing we do for our brokers, though, is when we send out pre-underwriting assessments, we send them out to all the regular companies and CPP at the same time. So when it comes back, you know what's on both ends of the spectrum, the simplified issued and also the regular issue type of thing. Desjardins, okay. Desjardins probably has one of the largest product suites in Canada. It's huge. They have all kinds of products. Okay, they just come out with a new CI products with some special cancer coverages in there. You need to check this out. Okay, they're very excited about that, so you need to check out their new CI product. They do have whole life, UL, and term 100, so they're one of the ones that have the whole spectrum there. And they have lots of options on their new CI product: T10, T20, T70, 70, 65, 75, T100, 10, and 20. So all kinds of things. They do combination and layering discounts, so you can layer coverages as well. So that's good. So take a look at their product suite. And we have a very energetic wholesaler there, John Johnson, who will be glad to help you out with things. Take a look at their new CI product out there. It's got some things that's innovative, and I think you'll like looking at that. All right, on to Empire Life. Good whole life products. They've been around a while, and they have good basic fundamental whole life products. They have a particular one that's good. Their 8-pay contract is very attractive out there in the industry for people that want to pay it up in 8 years. Great field support. Donna Schultz is our marketing rep in our area, and she does a great job. In fact, she just tried calling me this morning. Combination plans. They're very good at working with combination plans where you're layering life and critical illness. They are also one of the ones that have a T100, but it's a T100 with values. You need to take a look at this because T100 rates are very similar to T100 with values, very similar to UL level cost of insurance with no values. Okay, so look at those. I say the T100 has a bailout option, so the client later on in life can either take a reduced paid up policy or take a cash value. So because most clients, when they're taking out a policy, a permanent policy, say, well, how much do I have to pay? How long do I have to pay? And do I ever get anything back when I stop paying? So that's important there. And they were kind of one of the leaders in the electronic app, so I will put that in there fast and full. They've made numerous adjustments to that over the years. So that's very important that they have that. And then I also stressed the T100 product there. So good whole life company, great field support, combination, and then they still have that T100 with values, all right? Which, like I said, those products are some of these products disappear, we don't get them back, all right? Equitable Life, they're one of the only mutual companies left in Canada, which means they're owned by the shareholders, not by the they're owned by the policyholders, not the shareholders, okay? Which means if they ever demutualize someday, if you're a policyholder with them, you're going to have a nice little payday. So if that ever happens, we probably do more apps with Equitable year after year than any other company, mainly because the brokers perceive them as easy to do business with, and they certainly are good to work with. They have good whole life products, both on the estate and wealth side. And they have one of the best juvenile whole life par plans in the industry. So if you're looking at something, a juvenile whole life plan, look at Equitable. They also do pre-underwriting assessments, which we greatly appreciate, and they have helped. I think that's one reason they help us get business with them. Good term plans, and they can convert to universal life or whole life, and they have a partial conversion program that if you convert half of the face amount, you can bring the old term over as a new rider. All right, so that old term over is a new rider. So, but it's half or more. Okay, you have to do that. And then they also have recently set up an estate and tax planning team, which you will have access to on larger cases. So they're telling us they're having a lot more larger permanent cases type of thing. And if you've looked at the industry trend lately, whole life is overtaking universal life in sales. So the switch, it used to be UL over whole life, now it's whole life over UL, and there's still a lot of term insurance sold out there. So they have some good options there. So mutual company, that's important. Good array of whole life products, especially that juvenile whole life, pre-underwriting assessments, and that partial term program. And if you're in the advanced market, they have access to the estate and planning team. Okay, Foresters. Foresters is a fraternal society, which you may not even know. So kind of like a mutual company, but they call it a fraternal society. And they've relatively new to the brokerage market, but they've really made some inroads. One of the biggest advantages of Foresters is that when every single policy, you become a member and have member benefits, which enable you to access to certain benefits and certain policies and certain procedures. So, and that's part of your policy. So they go along with that. They do have a nice little brochure on that, which I would suggest that you get to know the member benefits. So if you're selling Foresters, you can say, and this goes along with your policy. They're very community oriented. They do things in the community. They big on playgrounds. They build playgrounds usually in the Toronto Hamilton area. Once a year they will build a couple of playgrounds. So if that's something that you like to be involved with, we encourage it. It's like a SWAT team showing up to build a playground for a day. So they figure out an area and they scout it out, and then they go and they build it. They specialize in the family market, and they're very open about that. That's their market. That's what they want to go to. We have great field support from them. David Hutchison and Sean Hughes and Sebastian are great at supporting us. We appreciate that. They also do pre-underwriting assessments, which we find helps a lot. We find the companies we do more business with, a lot of times the companies that do these assessments, they have a great whole life product called Advantage Plus. It's flexible. It can be 10, 20 pay or life pay. They're one of the only companies that has an incentive quit smoking program that they'll give you non-smoker rates for the first 2 years on a plan. If you don't quit smoking after 2 years, this is on their permanent plan. then smoker rates apply as of the original issue age. So that's there for those. They have a non-par and it has a good joint last to die option on it, and they also do term layering as well. So member benefits, great field support, product assessments, Advantage Plus, and their incentives quit smoking program. So lots of good things happen at Foresters. Industrial Alliance, very large company in Quebec. Okay, there they are. I just kind of missed them for a minute. Okay. Superior Risk Tolerance Program. You're asking yourself, what in the heck is this? That's a rate reduction program. Okay. This is something. This really stands out with them. What this program means is that if you have a client who has a health issue, and he would have been, and this applies to both permanent and term products, permanent and term. So if you have a client who's got a health issue, and I'll give you an example of a young couple, they were both I did predator assessment on, they were going to be both rated at 200% mortality for both of them. Through this program, the Superior Talk, I was able to get them life insurance at standard rates. So basically, I got their insurance for half price because of this program. So it only applies if the rating is between 150 and 200. They'll bring it back to 100%. Great opportunity for term and permanent. Also, they have probably the largest. I have large bill chart. Probably the largest bill chart in Canada. Okay, that's quite a statement, but it is very large. If you have a large person, you might want to consider Cinnamon Industrial Alliance. I mean, it's huge, okay? And they also do periodic assessments, so you can kind of see, where they're going to fit in. And also, when you send in the assessments, Valerie Todd, one of the underwriters, will tell you, we think this person would apply for that Superior Risk Tolerance program. So, so if you have a client who's got some health issues, take a look at Industrial Alliance. All right, they have whole life and UL products. They also have some simplified issue products as well. They have some flexible CI plans, and they have life DI, life CI DI and riders available. But they're the big things are those first ones I mentioned: the Superior Risk Tolerance program, the large bill chart. Okay, and I stress large, and the pre-writing assessments. Okay, so they're that's there. Avari, which formerly known as Transamerica Life of Canada. Transamerica was the term company. They were the term leader in term life insurance sales for a very, very long time. Sometimes I wonder if they didn't invent term insurance, but they changed their name. They're now known as Avari. They do a lot of layering and combined banding, which provides discounts on the cost of insurance. So very big in that. They're a mid-market company. That's what now we found that we've had very good success with them on preferred underwriting. Say class 1, class 2, class 3 being standard. We've had a lot of people classify for class 1 with them. Class 2, you'll find with most companies, the discount is minimal over class 3, but we have had a lot of people get elite underwriting decisions with Avari. So if you have somebody who's in very, very good health, okay, they might have a good chance of getting elite rates at Avari. All right. They are Canadian owned. They are owned by the Canada Pension Plans. Okay, so we all own them. Okay, in a way. So they are owned that way. They have I'll say a liberal bill chart, not quite as big as Industrial Alliance, but it's big. Okay, so they're if you have somebody that's a little on the bigger build side, you should take a look at Avari. They have savings when you add riders to life products, and they have a couple special options on their T30 as well. And then they have a My Insurance View, which is a good financial needs assessments which you have access to. So basically, good preferred underwriting, liberal bill chart, layering, and combination banding, and My Insurance View there. Okay, Manulife. Large companies, if you remember, I said on the Who's with Who, they purchased 26 life insurance companies. So they've bought more and acquired more than anybody else. So they have lots of product out there, okay? They have the longest running and best partial conversion program out there, without question. If you have a, say you have a $500,000 policy and you want to convert part of it, you can convert 100,000 base and carry the other 400,000 over as a term at current rates, okay? So very please, if you have some Manulife policies out there and you want to do some conversions, take advantage of this partial conversion program. It's been around a long time and very successful, and it really allows them to stand out in the market. So put an asterisk by that one. They have a full permanent suite, which they, whole life. They recently got back into the whole life market. I should rephrase that. They've revised their position in the whole life market. They come out with the new whole life product for larger cases, which they've just come out with in the last short while. They have a child protection rider that has probably the largest conversion in the industry. You can convert to large face amounts when those options come up. Their CI, one of the highest early intervention benefits in the industry. They have a CI conversion to long-term care built in. They have good definitions. DI, they have good definitions, and they also have that return of premium option like Canada Life has. And on CI, they're one of our more productive CI companies. We've brokers done business with them on the CI side for quite a long time, felt very comfortable. T10, T20, T65, T100, T115 pay. So Manulife, that partial conversion program, that CPR conversion, and a lot of flexibility on the living benefit side on the CI. Okay, RBC. If you drive to Toronto, you'll see on Mississauga Road. You'll see the RBC buildings. The life insurance is one building and the bank is the other building. They have to be in separate buildings, okay? So that's why there's two buildings separated. That's the so RBC has, let me go back here, some good, they're very competitive. You go to Life Guide, they're always there. They're very competitive in the term market. They can, but if you want to convert, you can only convert over to a UL. They have a conversion to a UL product if you do a conversion, so they do have something to convert. RBC Life was the former Westbury Life, so if you wonder where they came from, that's where it came from. Westbury become RBC. They have kind of a unique thing on term. You can go 10 to 40 years on the term, so kind of like a pick a term options. RBC purchased Paul Revere, who was the premier carrier in DI. So they have over 50% of the DI market. Preferred professionals, most all professionals have dealt with Paul Revere or RBC. They have good DI policies for both white and blue collar. So non-cancelable policies. So they're very big in that market. The two players in the DI market, three players basically are Canada, Manu, and RBC. So they're very good, and they also have a good CI product portfolio. So RBC, good term rates, some options on the terms, 10 to 40 years, and a good company, flagship company in the DI markets. Good products and good support there as well. SSQ, Quebec company, may not heard a lot about them. They're very large in Quebec. We've had some good success with them this year underwriting. They do have, we would call, a little more aggressive underwriting. And they're good with diabetics and sleep apnea. We've been able to get people with type 2 diabetes standard rates at SSQ. And that doesn't normally happen, and sleep apnea as well. So if you have a diabetic or sleep apnea case, take a look at SSQ, okay? They're very good in there. They have whole life and UL. They kind of have some unique products. They have a flexible UL YRT contract that has great rates. Their flagship product is called Term Plus, and it's a multi-purpose solution offering life, CI, and DI. So it's So that's their flagship product that they have out there. They have some good CI products, and they should have a short and concise application. So one thing that they, like I said, they have some unique products. They're good with diabetics and sleep apnea and some of those difficult cases. We find they're a little more aggressive on the underwriting than some of the other companies, but we're getting some good decisions from them. So take a look at SSQ. And finally, we're gonna finish off with Sun Life, one of the big three major players. They've been around for quite a while, and so they have probably the widest whole life suite for estate and wealth protection in Canada. I mean, they have lots of options. They have a whole life, which they also have an 8-pay, 10-pay, 15-pay, and 20-pay. So they have lots of options there. Their par account is very large, so there's some advantages the way they look at their par account in terms of how they put things together. They have probably the best children's CI policy in the market. It has a guaranteed contract switch to an adult plan without evidence of maturability in later years, and then it has an advanced return of premium option as well. So that if you're going to sell children's CI, you need to look at Sun Life and that CI product there. They on UL, they're very good in that market, larger case market, 500,000 and up and age 45. They're a large case market player, like I said, and life underwriting, they have some special reduced medical requirements for larger cases. So Sun Life, large, like I said, large on the whole life area, best child CI in the market probably with the options available there. And so we suggest you take a look at that. And they're a large case player as well. All right. So that kind of wraps things up. Boy, that time went fast today. So if we take a look at the highlights, advisor disclosure services and compliance, I went over that briefly. Who's with who, use that for positioning yourself as a broker. The use of agendas, I would suggest that you highly use that. You use some type of an application checklist, cover letters and reason why letters, pre-ordering assessments. Anybody has any medical issue, do a pre-ordering assessment. Have a process and procedure for doing things. Be a student of the business and work on some professional development. Attend BridgeForce advisor and industry meetings. Have a business plan. Have a sense of urgency. Go out and get yourself a mentor if you don't have one. And let's just review the company hotspots here for a second. So BMO, like I said, most robust fund portfolio in the industry. They got that new whole life, which you might want to take a look at. Different lengths of term. Canada Life, that Astor program for cases. The 7-year switch, pre-underwriting, and some flexibility with their DI products. CPP up to 500,000 non-med. No decline, postpone, or rated questions. And pre-auditing as well. All right, Desjardins, new CI portfolio. Lots of options on that CI side. Empire Life, good whole life products. Combination plans, T100. Electronic application. Equitable Mutual Company, easy to do business with. Good whole life products. Good juvenile whole life pre-underwriting. Good partial term conversion program. Foresters, fraternal society member benefits with every policy. Family market, pre-underwriting assessments, flexible whole life plan, Industrial Alliance, that Superior Risk Tolerance program, large bill chart, pre-underwriting assessments, a very mid-market company, good preferred underwriting, liberal bill chart, Manulife, the partial conversion program, full product suite, good definitions on their DI and lots of CI options there. RBC, competitive term products, option to 10 to 40 years. Good DI portfolio. SSQ, aggressive underwriting, good underwriting decisions with diabetics and sleep apnea. That Term Plus products offering life, CI, and DI. And Sun Life, large market player, good whole life products. They have a great child CI product as well. And okay, so know your carriers and where they stand out in the marketplace. So hopefully this has been helpful for you today to help position yourself when you're out there looking at these carriers and what's going on in the marketplace. So I want to thank Cassie for all her help and support in putting this together. And our next BridgeForce webinar, like I mentioned, is going to be July 31st with Alan Wong, and at 10 a.m. And it's going to be on LifeGuide. So any of you that are using LifeGuide, please tune in and hear what Alan has to say. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity and privilege of being with you today. And thank you. I wish you well in the business, and I hope you have a great summer. Okay? Have a good day and a good summer, and thank you for being a